Hey, now, good people, what is up? My name is Jeremy. That is my tag team partner, Mr. Drew Ward. This is the Full Coverage Football Show, and we are live here on YouTube, Twitter, it looks like, and Facebook. What is up, Drew? How you doing, brother?
Hey, good, man. My baseball team's 1-0. How are you?
Oh, my baseball team's 0-1, but I knew that when they were down 2-0, that was too much for them to come back from, especially in a blizzard where 86-year-old Miggy Cabrera hits a 2-run homer and then slides into second base. I mean, baseball season.
Opening day. Every year there's like shitty weather across it was 70 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Opening day. It's snowing in multiple cities. And then the Mets had to cancel a game because of COVID. Baseball is back. I like baseball, but I don't love baseball, and the Tigers are going to be really terrible. So I'm going to talk shit right now and this time only. So that's just how I wanted to open things.
Your 1-0 could possibly go 1-161. Who knows?
Awesome.
I mean, and for anyone who wants our thoughts on baseball, go back to our All Sports Show, which you can find if you go on our Facebook page, fb.me/FCFSpod, or go on and scroll back to one of our older episodes. It's there. It'll tell you which one it is. On anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can hear our thoughts on baseball, which began with us just saying April should always be West Coast teams and domes. That's where they should play, so we don't have this crap where you're playing in a blizzard. But, hey, it's silly season, and silly season starts with baseball, but it's silly season for the NFL because right after we went off the show last week, I'm posting stuff Friday morning, setting up the pod for, anywhere you listen, iHeart, Spotify, Google Pods, Apple Pods, Anchor, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us. And all of a sudden you look, and the Niners make a trade. San Francisco 49ers trade up from 12 to 3 with the Dolphins. They give up 12 overall, a 2022 1, a 2022 3, which is a compensatory pick, and a 2023 1. So 3 first-round picks and a 3 to move up to number 3. So the Dolphins then drop to 12.
Dude, the Dolphins are stacking.
They are. So they're like, you know what? We got a ton of picks. We're sitting at 12. Let's just throw out a pick, and we're going to move back up to 6 5 minutes later when they trade with the Eagles. So they give up 1 first round to go from 12 to 6, and now they're still like 8 first rounds up. They're just playing with house money, and the Eagles are like, yeah, we could use one of those.
And they're going to be able to get their weapon.
Yeah, and the Dolphins are like, okay, so we're basically going to wait, and we're going to think 4 quarterbacks go top 4 possibly, and then we're going to just sit there and maybe Kyle Pitts, maybe we put him with Gesicki, maybe we get a Jamar Chase, maybe we just get the tackle. Who knows?
They're more than likely going to probably have their pick of the litter.
Absolutely.
And the Eagles fans are like, shit. They're like, hey, we like these guys. And then Jamar Chase comes out and does ridiculous things at the pro day. And then the Eagles fans are like, damn, we got the pick. But, man, when we get into the off season and it's just all we do is you always call it the underwear Olympics, right? Or whatever it is.
That's exactly what it is.
And it's like, we're just dying for some football content, like some real football stuff, not fantasy. We want like real football. We want to know what's going on. And then these guys put up these ridiculous numbers. And then you see these clowns on the social media, Trey Lance or somebody throws 1 pass and we're like, oh, Trey Lance moved all the way up my board. And it's like, Jesus, man.
Number 1 player, surefire Hall of Famer, 2 Super Bowls. And then 5 minutes later, you get an update. Like this actually happened. Why we're talking like that. Mac Jones, who we're going to bring up in a little bit. Mac Jones, Bleacher Report update, because I got Bleacher Report app on my phone. Mac Jones throws dime to Devontae Smith for 50 yards. Like, he was doing that all year. We know that. But now he's doing it in his underwear, basically, in the Under Armour look. What up, Beastie? How you doing, brother?
Hey,
thanks for watching.
Chris.
So, Chris is great friend of the show, as you know, at Detroit BC.
Great dude.
We'll talk more about him later, too, because we might have a new Detroit BC shirt, which I haven't even sent to him yet. But anyway, Mac Jones throws this pass 5 minutes later. After he throws this amazing pass, it's another update from Bleacher Report.
Air bounce.
Bill Belichick rolls his eyes as Josh McDaniels does something. It's like he went from number 1 overall pick, surefire Hall of Famer, legend, to 5 minutes later, this guy could be a third stringer in the CFL. He might be that. That is why we call it silly season.
Well, just look at how the quarterback in perception has changed so much since really the end of the college season. I mean, it's gone from, one thing that hasn't really wavered is Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
But it's gone from Justin Fields to, oh man, Zach Wilson to Trey Lance, and then here comes Mac Jones out of freaking nowhere, and everybody's like, hey, Mac Jones could be the third pick for the San Francisco 49ers, and it's like, this is what happens. This happens almost every year. I remember it happened specifically when the Browns drafted Baker Mayfield, when the Josh Allen draft, and there was all this different stuff, and hey, Josh Allen's moved up here, and then people were like, oh, well, he's inaccurate, and then it's like, oh, Baker Mayfield, it's like we hear this shit all the time. It's
if the Browns pass on Josh Rosen, they're ruining the franchise.
Yeah,
it goes like that.
And what the Niners did was they moved up. They have a feeling what the Jets are going to do. They moved up to 3 for a reason. Shanahan and Lynch, they're running. Anybody would be a good fit in Kyle Shanahan's offense.
Yep.
But I think they know who their guy is. You can argue till you're blue that it's Field, it's Wilson or not Wilson. I think Wilson's going to be off the board, but you think it's Lance, Fields, or Mac Jones, and anybody can sit there and argue the hell with each other about which it is. I don't think really anybody at this point knows outside of that office.
And we call it silly season, and the reason for that is all this shit we hear talking and we roll. But when you look at the trade, it's a great trade. And then when you really look at that trade, you're like, they gave up 3 number 1s and a number 3. So you hear all this talk before the Deshaun Watson, other off-the-field activities came out. All the trade talk was, would you really give up 3 1s for Deshaun Watson? Isn't that too much? No. This is exactly why. The Niners, we love to talk about it. What's our favorite thing? Mystery box.
Yeah.
Niners give up 3 1s and a 3 for the mystery box.
Franchise quarterbacks aren't meant to be traded.
Exactly.
It's not how this works. Like, you get one and you keep it because there's only a dozen even good ones in the league, and then there's some guys that you can manage with, and then there's some shit quarterbacks. Every year, there's 5 or shit quarterbacks in the league. Just the way it is. So you go ahead, man. I keep getting this like giant shock in my ear. It's pretty intense stuff going on.
Good.
Playing through pain, folks. But again, it's like you're not supposed to move franchise quarterbacks, and nobody knows what the hell the trade market is for a franchise quarterback because, again, you're not supposed to be moving them.
Yep. So when you hear that, whatever that price tag is to not get the mystery box, to get the surefire thing, you pay the price. But now back to silly season. So Mac Jones is a guy who we talked about just a second ago. He makes a 1 throw, it's amazing, 1st-round pick. Makes another throw, 7th-round pick, maybe. But then the trade happens, and the Niners get the 3rd overall pick, and everyone's like, oh, it's got to be Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or whoever's sitting there. And then all of a sudden, all the reports come flowing in. The Niners love Mac Jones. Niners love Mac Jones. And then the pro day happens where Justin Fields and Mac Jones have pro day on the same day. Shanahan, the head coach, Lynch, the GM, they go to Mac Jones pro day. The assistant GM goes to Justin Fields pro day. So what does everybody think there? Oh, my God, they all want Mac Jones. It's obviously going to be Mac Jones. Why would Kyle Shanahan go there? It's silly season. You don't have to listen to all that. Why would Kyle Shanahan go there? Maybe he wants to look at Mac Jones closer. Maybe it's the fact that Alabama has 72 first-round picks on their roster. Don't get me wrong. Ohio State's loaded.
My favorite part about that whole argument is like, okay, so never mind. Go ahead and talk. I'm done.
Getting shocked. It's a rough night for my boy over there. Getting shocked, can't talk. But then you got Justin Fields going off in his pro day, runs a 4.4, just kills his pro day, throws everything. He looks exactly like the guy you see on the field. So then everyone's skyrocketing straight up. It's all Justin Fields. Everyone loves Justin Fields.
Because they're like, why didn't you guys go out to you weren't heavily in Zach Wilson's pro day and stuff? He's like, well, now that we have the number 3 pick, we don't really have to sky shit anymore. Like we can kind of go, you know what I mean? Like we can kind of go look at these guys, and listen, these guys play smoke screens like you couldn't believe. They really, these organizations put things out there in this time of the year, which is silly season, to jack with other teams. It really is what it comes down to, and half the shit's not true. And you'll hear rumors of this and rumors of that. Juju Smith-Schuster was going 76 different places, and then he goes back. I mean, nobody knows what the hell they're talking about to an extent, and you just kind of have to wait for what happens. I don't know what they're going to do at 3. Man, but Mac Jones would still be very surprising to me.
It would be. And it's quarterback at 3, right? It's got to be.
Oh, yeah, they didn't move up 3.
So we can agree on that. So going back to the pro days, Mac Jones, great pro day. Justin Fields, great pro day. So we're all up. The Justin Fields talk is skyrocketing again. Then Dan Orlovsky goes on the Pat McAfee show. And suddenly you're hearing he's hearing from sources and inside guys that Justin Fields doesn't care about football. Justin Fields, where's his heart at? What does he want to do? All this other crap. I mean, let me just say something right here before we go any further with that. Justin Fields, Clemson game. Look at that game. He gets hit with a hit that knocks most people out of a game. He's not getting paid. He already knows that he's going to be a first-round pick. He doesn't have to go back in. He chose to go back in. That boy's got more heart than a lot of quarterbacks that I've ever seen. So don't question that boy's heart. However, right after Orlovsky goes on the McAfee show and all this heat starts coming out, he then goes to Twitter and kind of backtracks on it. So let's hear what he had to say.
Fields yesterday and what I said on Pat McAfee show. So Pat on yesterday's show asked me, like, hey, sounds like Justin Fields is dropping. Why do you think that's the case? And I said, I don't know, but I had done some digging and teams had told me that there were concerns with his work ethic, how great he wanted to go be. And I said, that's what I've heard, Pat. And then obviously it created a big conversation and narrative yesterday, firestorm. And so that forced me to do even more digging over the last 24 hours. And I've had 2 conversations that I want to put out there.
Keep digging, baby.
To kind of clarify the situation or put more out there about the situation. One conversation I had is with an offensive coach at Ohio State. And he said, tell them that's absolutely not true, that Justin Fields' work ethic is spectacular, that he is a guy that has great football IQ and he's always studying tape. And then the second conversation I had is with John Beck, who's kind of trained Justin as he's headed into his pro day. And John's had a really...
All right, this is exactly why it's silly season. So you get these anonymous guys who want to say, oh, he's not that good. A lot of the stuff you hear that with the work ethic and all that is so that he maybe slides to their team. And then when you ask his offensive coach and the guy he's working with and John Beck,
well, he's getting him ready for the league. What else is going to say? What are they going to say?
What else are they going to say?
I mean, I'm not saying Justin Fields' work ethic isn't there, but what are they going to say? Well, I mean,
exactly. Could you imagine if he came on this and released on Twitter? I talked to a senior assistant at Ohio State. He's an offensive assistant. He said Justin Fields is a joke. He doesn't care about football. Like, we had to read the book to him. He didn't understand the playbook. He can't draw a straight line. Listen, when you break down Justin Fields, everyone wants to talk about, oh, he's an Ohio State quarterback. Ohio State quarterbacks don't work.
And then I hate that. I hate that narrative because
it's not the school.
I feel like players they're individual players, right? And the other thing is the narrative is, I mean, he was in Ryan Day's offense. Mm-hmm. I mean, the other thing is he was the number 1 recruited quarterback there was. I mean,
him and Trevor Lawrence have been 1 and 2 their whole lives.
Exactly. It's not like the guy's some system quarterback. I think the Ohio State is a bullshit knock on the kid. You can't just throw it. Oh, hey, Jamarcus Russell went to LSU. Jamarcus Russell sucks, and Matt Flynn sucks.
Looks pretty good.
Joe Burrow looks pretty damn good. Like you can't do that.
No, and the thing they're like, oh well, look at the way Dwayne Haskins was. Dwayne Haskins was a 1-year quarterback. He had 1 year in that system basically. Killed it.
I thought Dwayne Haskins would be decent.
Still think Dwayne Haskins can be good. However, we knew the issue with him was maturity, and he had to learn the system better. In Washington, they threw him in early. They got him ready, set to go. All of a sudden, he wasn't prepared. And the thing with Ohio State's offense that people don't look at, you'll see a knock on Justin Fields right now. And when I've been scouting him, looking at him, obviously I'm just me. I'm not a pro scout or anything. When I look at him, what I see is they'll talk about how he holds on to the ball too long. Why is that? Look at the offense. You can't just look at the guy holding on to the ball too long. It's a vertical offense. That first option is deep downfield. It's set up to protect him long enough to get that deep downfield And if that's not there, then he looks off. So that's why he's holding on to the ball longer than, say, a Trevor Lawrence who's in a, hey, I got to get that ball out straight to my playmakers and go.
I somewhat agree with that. The one thing that I would say is the knocks that he doesn't get through his progressions, I don't agree with. Holding on to the ball too long, I think I'm not saying that's a concern, but I do take a little bit into it because what happens is guys with the mobility of Justin Fields, you know what I mean? These guys do tend to hold on to the ball too long because they have the ability to make the hero play when other people don't. And when you have quarterbacks like that, you just kind of have to take that as it comes in hope the quarterback matures into when he knows when to take the risk and when doesn't. But yeah, there was times that he did hold the ball too long at Ohio State. Yeah. But again, you're right. Route concepts, the offense certainly matter. And you just hope that, he'll, because you're not going to be able to sit back there and hold the ball for too long come Sundays.
No, and that's something you're going to have to teach him within that offense. Now, does he hold on to the ball too long at times? Yeah. I'm not saying he doesn't.
Yeah, but so
it's a double-edged sword there.
Yeah.
And you're right. Absolutely. With guys that athletic, he thinks he can run out of anything and make it.
Russell Wilson does it all the time.
Exactly.
Russell Wilson holds the ball, and I think he's pretty good. So Justin Fields could be Russell Wilson. That'd be pretty quarterback.
Good. We're looking at all these crazy things. And you hit it on the head earlier in the show, like right at the beginning when you were talking about how much the quarterbacks have changed. For me, quarterbacks really haven't changed that much from where I kind of had them ranked at the beginning of, I think November is when I started my first ranking, really. It's still Trevor Lawrence 1 to me, Justin Fields 2, Zach Wilson 3, Mac Jones 4, and Trey Lance 5. Now, we got a question here. Hey, boys, who's the next Akili Smith? I mean, if you're talking about a guy who's going to get drafted early, who's super athletic and has a really strong arm, I mean, when you're just looking at those options, it's Trey Lance. Trey Lance is the most skilled out of all the quarterbacks in this draft as far as everything he can do.
And I personally think he's the pick at 3 for the 49ers because I think it makes sense to be able to sit a guy for a year. You can play Jimmy G. You don't have to force him in when it comes to San Francisco. There's a lot of risk that, as you mentioned, that comes along with him because he's raw, right? He's got raw. I mean, there's no throw he can't make. But again, I think he's more of a project than the other guys. I think a Mac Jones and Justin Fields can step in and immediately be productive, whereas I think Trey Lance would benefit from stepping back for a year. And I think that he could be afforded that opportunity out in the Bay Area.
I mean, that's a very interesting point. And I got Justin Fields going 3 to them right now because I think Zach Wilson, just the arm, the things he can do. Zach Wilson can make throws that you only see 2 guys do, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes. He can do that at times, but he's still a project. He's still got issues. I mean, basically the way I'm looking at him, he's kind of like the way Sam Darnold was coming out to me. And it's funny that the Jets
So you don't think that Zach Wilson's going 2 to the Jets?
No, I think Zach Wilson is going 2 to the
okay.
Jets.
So, okay. All right. I was like, maybe you have a different opinion. That just seems to be my opinion.
I mean, the way I look at it right now
starts the season.
And we'll pull it out. Here's my mock draft, which you can find at fcfspod.substack.com. Right now, I got Lawrence 1, Wilson 2, Fields 3, and Lance 4. I think those quarterbacks are going to go. And the reason I put the Falcons here is because of you, actually. With the Falcons taking a quarterback at 4, even though they've got Matt Ryan, even though they can still go for that one more push, it's a reason that you repeatedly say on this show, how many times you think you're going to be in a position to draft that quarterback that high.
Yep.
So that's why I got the Falcons going 4th with the quarterback. I think if Justin Fields falls to them at 4, they are going to run to the podium, skipping over people, stepping on people's heads, hopping like coming out of a pipe like Mario. They're going to get it up there quick.
I also think this kind of screws the Lions with all these quarterbacks coming off the board.
Yeah, it can, absolutely.
Because at 7, you would want that opportunity for a team because I don't think the Lions are going to draft a quarterback. Because I just don't think there's going to be one there worth drafting. But I think if you can trade back, if their guy's there, they're willing to trade back. But man, of course, this has turned into a QB. I mean, it's a weird draft because it could be like 4 QBs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end, or something in the first 7 picks or 8 picks. So.
I think there's a great chance that Carolina or Denver try to move up to 4.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Denver, dude, if I were Denver,
Mm-hmm.
I would have thrown the bag to try to move up because Denver's pieces are there. They just have not been. I mean, those weapons in Denver, that offense is ready to be humming if somebody can deliver the football. And I'm kind of out on your boy, Drew Lock.
Yeah. There's still a chance, but I mean, it doesn't look like it's all there. But while we're looking at this mock draft, which we're going to look at later when we talk AFC North here, got Jalen Waddle going to your Lions. How you feel about that if they stay at 7?
I don't absolutely hate it, but I don't love it at all, really.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I disagree with what I saw there is I think Sewell drops. I don't think the Dolphins take him. So I think that actually.
So if he's there at 7, do you take him if you're running the Lions?
I honestly think the Lions would take Kyle Pitts. I know that's crazy, but I think that Kyle Pitts he holds superpowers with what he does.
Let's go to that pro day. And you'll talk about it. They just got T.J. Hawkinson. They drafted
but
top
he's
10.
not just a tight end though. Like
exactly.
Like this guy's a hybrid. You can line him up and he just plays big boy football. And any DB he goes on is a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's, in my opinion, where the Lions are thinking. I think they've added some speed in the offseason. Not really. At the wide receiver position. I can't say that out loud without laughing. That's not true. Jalen Waddle.
Tyrell Williams is faster than Marvin Jones.
Yeah, that's
so they have added speed technically.
And they bought your boy in Perriman.
Yes,
fast as shit.
Rashad Perriman is very fast, and
Damian Ratley. We're just bringing in extra rounds, is what we're doing.
No, listen. As soon as John Dorsey went there, Damian Ratley or Chad Thomas was going to end up in Detroit, and I think Chad Thomas is going back to doing all of his music and stuff. That guy never cared about football, really. But Damian Ratley, that's John Dorsey's boy. Like, that's his number 2. Like, that's one of his ride or dies. Chad Thomas sitting in the passenger seat, Damian Ratley sitting in the back, and he's got the CD changer in the back under the seat, the rolling old Cadillac. That's how John Dorsey does it. But, absolutely.
I'm not sure I love Jalen Waddle. The thing that intrigues me about Jalen Waddle is the fact that he, in space, he's kind of electric and he's a game changer. And I think the Lions offense is going to be predicated a lot on speed, screen game, short passes. I mean, we've seen kind of what Jared Goff's done in LA. So I think you probably expect something like that. I mean, best case scenario, Jamar Chase is there, but it's just not going to happen.
I think the Bengals should take Sewell.
Oh, the Bengals.
Especially because they lost my guy, Bobby Hart.
The Bengals should take him just to make sure they don't kill their franchise quarterback.
But Jamar Chase is a stud. 4.38 40. We knew he's fast. Terrence
Well,
Moore
everybody forgot.
yesterday.
Somebody that, not to get off subject, Devontae Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Heisman Trophy winner. People forgot Jamar Chase took the year off, and then they saw this pro day, and they're like, oh, this guy. This was the alpha with Justin Jefferson? This guy? Yeah, that's that guy right there.
Jamar Chase is that guy who can do anything on the field. Anything. Like, unbelievable skills. You look at Devontae Smith, he's probably Chad Ochocinco. You look at Jamar Chase, and he is T.O. He is Randy Moss type. He can do literally everything on the field. But you brought up Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts, if the Lions draft him, people will lose their minds. 2 tight ends in the top 10 in a few years. But when you got a guy who's 6'6", 245, 250, runs a 4.4 40, 83.5-inch wingspan, where you throw the ball within the boundaries, this guy's got a chance to catch it. He's just a big dude. Is he going to be an inline blocker? Never. Can he chip block? Absolutely. But you get this guy in a safety mismatch, linebacker mismatch.
He's not Mike Gesicki blocking, though. Like, you know what I mean? He's not great, but he's not like just strictly like Mike Gesicki is maybe the worst tight end blocking.
He's pretty damn bad.
But the dude, he's a receiving tight end. But yeah, at least he can. But you're right. I mean, people would lose their minds. But again, he's an interesting piece to throw in a puzzle of kind of an offense you're trying to figure out at this point. And I think, I don't know. I think it could happen, and I just don't know how I feel about it, but we'll see.
Can he eventually be a blocker? Just watch tape on David Njoku over the past few years. Guy couldn't block anything. Last year, he was one of the better blocking tight ends.
David
on the
Njoku
Browns.
is kind of interesting you bring up because he had similar freak athletic traits coming out of, I believe, the University of Miami.
Yep. Chief.
But yeah, I hope if you draft Kyle Pitts, he's better than David Njoku.
David Njoku still has a chance to be very good. He just needs to be used properly. And I don't think the Browns did last year.
Bullshit, though. I needed to have it.
We'll talk more about him in a little bit because we're going to be talking Browns. And he never got really used until the Chiefs game. We'll get more on that later. But yeah, it's silly season. There's so many rumors bouncing. Make sure as you're looking through this that you're reading between the lines. You're actually checking the source. You're seeing where it's coming from. If it's an anonymous guy talking smack on a guy you know is pretty good, it's probably because he wants to try to knock down that player in hopes that they slide to him. I mean, that's usually what happens.
Don't get bunked by the fake Adam Schefter.
Yeah. No, a darn Schefter. Always check for the check mark, the blue check. Don't fall for it. God.
Even the blue checks are full of shit sometimes too, but
yeah.
All right.
You're not going to get 100% of them right.
These guys are guessing too. I mean, it's a crazy world out there.
Before we move on to our AFC North offseason look here, where we're going to start with the Bengals, do us a favor. Check out our new merchandise. 2021 stuff is up. Bonfire.com/store/FCFS tees. Check out our Campbell's Safari Park new tee. Of course, it's Detroit Lions centric.
It's a fantastic
football show where you can get our beautiful faces. You can look fly with our faces on your chest. A new I Like Drew and the Fat Guy shirt, which was one of our biggest sellers in our last one, and now we got the pumpkin colors. The new Ward's Wagers tee.
I haven't even seen these.
The new Ward's Wagers tee, Sense with Sense. That is the front. Let me get to the back here. Let me see how I do it. Ward's Wagers, dollars and cents with sense.
Beautiful.
Get the new Ward's Wagers tee. It is there. Men's shirts $24.99, women's $23.99.
I bet Trevor Lawrence goes #1 Ward's Wager of the offseason.
Hey, that's Ward's Wagers, brought to you by Latani CBD Olive Oil, live here on the Full Coverage Football Show. Trevor Lawrence, #1. Put your money on that. If you put down $1, you'll probably have to pay another $1 to win anything.
Yeah.
Also, hey, FCFS Pod mug is there, and
the hoodie,
the 1/20/20 thing we brought back. The hoodie, because you guys, it's Green Jacket season. Masters is coming up, a tradition.
Next week.
Yes. And right after our show, you can find Drew doing another show talking golf.
I'm everywhere, man.
At Hammerjacks, is that where we find you on Twitter?
Yup, Hammerjacks. Well, yeah. Or yeah, you can just go to my page. I'll have it all
or
there.
Go to at Detroit Dave 7. He'll retweet it there. Also at FCFS Pod. I usually try to retweet it as well.
Thanks, man.
Check out Drew talking golf. Excellent stuff as always. Go to our site.
My boy Phil made a 10 on the last hole. A 10.
I can do that.
And
on a 3.
Maybe we'll see. It was a pretty long hole. It was a par 5. But yeah, anyway.
I mean, maybe not on the same hole, but on a hole, I can get a 10. All right? I'm not saying on that one.
That's too funny.
I did learn something.
Some shit here?
Yeah, let's get into it here. I did learn, that my drive game is still trash thanks to Top Golf the other night. Can't drive.
That's awesome, by the way.
It is. Phenomenal place. But yes, let's get into the AFC North. So we've done our offseason looks. We've done NFC North, NFC South, I believe we've done, where we had Nick Wilson. Go back and check that episode out. A lot of fun with Nick Wilson. Like a 5 to 10 minute segment turned into like 52 minutes, which we tend to do often. But AFC North, let's start with the Bengals. 4-11-1 last year. But what did we find out? They got a quarterback. Joe Burrow, absolute stud, until Bobby Hart done let him get killed. And now Bobby Hart is signed with Buffalo. And
Zach Taylor let him get killed.
I mean, yeah, Zach Taylor. It's just get an offensive line.
That was a fireable offense. I mean,
it was.
I'm not going to.
In his own end zone against Washington with that defensive line. I mean, come on now. So we talked about them a little bit last week. I ripped on them because you let William Jackson go, you let Carl Lawson go, and then you bring in Hendrickson on a 4-year, $60 million deal, and then you bring a Woozier in and
Riley
Mike
Reef.
Hilton, and Riley Reef comes in. Riley Reef's an upgrade for them over Bobby Hart. But Bengals, we're looking at them. I got them taking Jamar Chase at 5. They need more offensive line help. They've already got Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins is a pretty damn good one, too.
It's basically this, dude. It's literally goes down to this, right? It's this beautiful Ferrari, right? Which is Jamar Chase, right? And then it's this Honda Civic. And this Honda Civic is gonna get you 250,000 miles, right? This Honda Civic is
all hell.
Now this is flashy right here, and this would be fun to have, but right now your ass needs to get to work. So you probably should be taking the Honda Civic for its capabilities with gas mileage as well as reliability.
The safety rating is excellent.
Exactly.
You're not going to destroy anything at 200 miles per hour.
Yeah, but what you could destroy is you have a Ferrari at quarterback, right? And so you just need to surround it with a bunch of Honda Civics.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah. Hey,
that's it.
We're going Fast and the Furious now. You got Dom leading you in the Ferrari. No, you're absolutely right, though. That's what they should do. Jamar Chase, though, that magic they had, we talked about it, how he took the year off. That year before, the magic he and Burrow had, and what you could do, can you find that left tackle? Can you trade? If a Rashawn Slater slides, do you try to move up to get him? Do you go for that playmaker when you got the chance at that Ferrari? Or do you just say, no, I need to take that Civic because it's the right thing to do?
I honestly think with T. Higgins and the way that he was playing when Joe Burrow was out there, and I know you lose A.J. Green, but A.J. Green was just like a zombie out there anyway.
Yeah.
You still have Tyler Boyd. I think there are some weapons there. It's not like the cupboard's bare. I don't think they absolutely have to go get wide receiver, and this is also a deep wide receiver class. I think it shows a lot what they do with this pick on how much they value protecting their quarterback.
They do. Understandable. But Kyle Pitts is also there, and adding that tight end, technically, I mean, they got a lot of options. What they need to do is protect the quarterback. Yes, we know that. However, this team, if their defense can be okay, and you get Burrow back game 1, you look at this AFC North. We've got the Bengals, Steelers, Ravens, and Browns. This might be the best division in football, 1-4, if the Bengals step up. Now, they signed Larry Ogunjobi at defense tackle, released Geno Atkins a year late, as we talked about last week. But, I mean, you look at what they have. They've got parts and pieces. Hubbard and Hendrickson now are your edge guys. You got Ogunjobi in the middle. You got solid linebackers, and then you're going to get Mike Hilton, who knows the division, but is basically a blitzing corner. So he's going to bring
terrible last year defensively. Oh. Hey, they got Eli Apple.
Yeah. Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon comes back, a healthy Joe Mixon, maybe. I mean, what's your outlook for what the Bengals do, not only in the first round, but where do you think they go for the entire – what is their mindset going into the draft?
I honestly think – so first thing, I think they have to go to protect the quarterback. But then you need to go heavy defense. However, I think you could see them try to add somewhat of another weapon to have Burrow, to give to Burrow. To me, I don't expect them to be very good next year, and that's not a knock on Burrow. I think he's coming back from a significant injury. I think this team's still building. That defense was atrocious last year. And again, it's not going to be patched up in 1 year, especially with the year and the cap and the inability. They haven't gone out and got much of anything, right? No. And so for me, I think they're going to have another 6, maybe 7 win year. And we just hope Joe Burrow stays healthy. But I do think, again, coming back from this injury, but they're going to have to build the defense. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go get it one shiny toy. It just can't be in the first round.
And this is a deep draft. We've said it multiple times. There's like 8 wide receivers who could possibly go in a first round. That's how good it is. Then you got guys like Tylan Wallace, Danny Brown. I mean, guys who are going to be available later who you can throw in there. And we've already got T. Higgins. We've already got Tyler Boyd. Maybe a Pat Freiermuth even in the second round out of Penn State.
I can see maybe 6 wide receivers. I just think wide receivers aren't a commodity that be taken in the first round. I know this year is insane, but yeah, you're right.
It could. I mean, I'm not saying 8 go. I don't think 8 go either, but that's how talented and deep it is. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And you hit it right exactly. They need to protect that investment. Protect the investment. I mean, and build around him because you have a chance to make a jump next year. I mean, maybe not 10 wins, but I mean, you're 4-11-1. You can be a 7 to 8 win team. And now it's a 17 game season. I mean, they could be the first 7-10 team we've seen.
It's a building block kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It stinks because Burrow's got to get his feet wet almost again. He's got to go out there. He's got to, play through, things in his head and the injury. But again, I expect them to be somewhere around. I keep forgetting they're 17 games. Yeah, I'll give them 7 wins.
I can see that. I could absolutely see that if Burrow starts game 1. You think Burrow's back by day 1?
Yeah. Yep.
I do too. And I mean, this team's going to throw him out there regardless. So let's move on now to the 3rd place team in the division and a team who won a playoff game for the first time in 172 years since the invention of football. The Cleveland Browns, 11-5 in the first year under Kevin Stefanski. Last year, we saw this team spend $60 million in the offseason to rebuild their offensive line. Andrew Berry came in his first year, said, this is where our team sucks. We're going to do that. We're going to take care of that. Put the money in, invest in that offensive line, and your offense went great. Baker Mayfield had a great year. Nick Chubb was Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt was great. You had a great offensive plan by doing that. Now, this offseason, they said, hey, we watched that defense. As good as our offense was, our defense was trash. It was not good. Doesn't help that you had a lot of injuries because, as Drew said,
sick of hearing about it. Sick of hearing about it.
What's the secondary, though?
Soft as tissue.
Tissue.
I'm sick of hearing about their damn injuries back there.
Yeah. Well, they had them, but it didn't matter because they still sucked when they played a lot of times. So they lost Larry Ogunjobi to the Bengals. Okay, Larry Ogunjobi, nice guy, great guy. I mean, came out of Charlotte, young dude who just started to play football. We love to have him here. He's a nice guy. But you lose him, it sucks. But, hey, goodbye. So the Browns then say, hey, we need a lot of help. They added John Johnson, the best safety possibly in free agency, 3 years, $33 million deal. Then they're like, we need edge rushers. We know that. They have flirted with Jadeveon Clowney again. Last year, Jadeveon Clowney flirted with them and then said, hey, I'm using you to get more money. And now Jadeveon Clowney was here last week.
Clowney's market in his head is way bigger than it is in real life.
Jadeveon Clowney, in his own opinion, is a 1-year, all of your salary cap, period, player. But Jadeveon Clowney, Browns fans, listen, if he comes to Cleveland, maybe he does. Don't get your hopes up. He's injured all the time.
He's not going to light up the Michigan running back at South Carolina, Jadeveon Clowney.
He can make plays, but you know what? He's been better against the run.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a face, and I get that. But you
had a fantastic offseason.
They have. You had Takk McKinley, 1-year, $4 million deal, basically saying, hey, if we get something out of this kid, if he can live up to his promise, awesome. If he doesn't, that's nothing for us right now. Then you had Troy Hill, a top 15 corner in the league possibly, but a slot corner. So you get him for a steal because, like we said last week, we still don't know how to pay those guys when it comes to slot corners.
Lions certainly don't. You
had Malik Jackson, a guy who's a pretty damn good defensive tackle who quietly is just moseying on through the league, made a big deal when he signed, from Denver with Jacksonville, I believe it was back in the day, and then he ended up in Philly. And then you had Anthony Walker, who's a guy. I mean, he's a solid guy. But basically what you've seen from Andrew Berry is he has in 2 off seasons, he says, these are our issues. This is what we're going to do. Yeah. And now you look at this roster in the draft, and we'll pull up the Browns draft here real quick that I have if I can. But you look at what Andrew Berry's done. He basically says, these are my issues. This is where our team needs to get better. And then he goes out and he fills them. So now when we're coming into the draft, I mean, what do the Browns need in the draft, in your opinion?
It's interesting because they still need defensive help.
They do.
Can I say linebacker enough times on this show for them to go out and get a legitimate linebacker? I love what they've done in free agency, like I said. I love them bringing back Rashard Higgins. I know he's not a big-time player, but he's had the most camaraderie with Baker Mayfield that we've really seen. Odell Beckham's, of course, the wild card going into next year, but they've really done a nice job
Wild
of
card,
trying. Yeah. Like, and Anthony Walker's a nice player, but they still need to boost that linebacking core, in my opinion. So I think that's the number one. The John Johnson signing, though, is fantastic. I know he turned down less money from maybe other places with the 313 in front of it, but he wanted to go to some place that would win, right? And I think this roster is ready to win now. And but they have to show up. They have to show up at what they're doing defensively.
That is so weird to hear when you're saying he wanted to go somewhere to win, and I'm like,
Yeah.
where did he go? I'm like, wait, he signed with my team. What the hell?
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people are talking linebacker, and I get that. The Browns linebackers are you got Phillips, who they drafted last year, Sione Takitaki, Mac Wilson, who
Don't
is
try to do this, Jeremy.
really
Don't try
good.
to do this. You're gonna try to tell me how
Twitter.
Takitaki and Mac Wilson
No.
and you're okay. Like you're telling me that
You
don't
re-signed
need
Malcolm
linebackers.
Smith. You got Anthony Walker.
I
But
just don't want you to do that.
the thing they've shown in this Joe Woods defense is that they're not really looking for that dynamic linebacker like we're used to. They are starting what you're probably going to see next year is a 4-1, and then you're going to go 5 DBs. You're going to start 3 safeties. And they're going to use Delpit. They're going to use Johnson up in the box. They're going to try to use Ronnie Harrison. That's what they want to do.
Okay.
However, if a Jeremiah Owusu-Kamara is there, Koromoa is there, I think he's a guy you pick because he's another guy you can use anywhere. 6'2", 215, can play anywhere. Right now, as my mock draft fell, mock draft 1 on fcfspod.substack.com, I had him take Kwity Paye out of Michigan, the edge, because they still need edge help. You're right. They still need linebacker help, and they can still use secondary help. I think basically what you're looking at right now in the draft, they're going to look probably cornerback 1, edge 2, wide receiver 3, and then linebacker. Because, yeah, they've got great offense so far, but they've got no speed. And that's where David Njoku comes in handy, where you saw what he did in the playoff game, where he was the only guy who could do anything against Chiefs because he was the fastest guy on the field.
13th still on the team.
I mean, yeah, but you said he's the wild card.
Well, but here's the deal, and this is your team, so I don't want to just completely disagree with you, because you know more about your team than I do. Is there a chance that the defense is predicated off the fact that your linebackers are a complete shit show?
It's part of it, but it's
and
also
if you want to throw 5 DBs in there, none of them can stay healthy, so that's a shit philosophy as well. But you might be right. I mean, but see, to me though, I think, and I could be wrong, the defense had to, go in the direction of what it has, and that was not linebacker, and so maybe but you're right. If you think linebackers fourth, your team way better than I do. It's just I watch them a lot because I live here, and because they're your team, so I root for them as well. They're in a completely different conference, and it's just, to me, their linebackers are complete ass, and their DBs are completely soft. Maybe you think corner is the first need off of the list. That's interesting, and you might be right. I haven't heard that. I'm interested, but
and the reason I say that is we know Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward went on the field though.
Awesome,
excellent, but he's going to be coming up. You're gonna pick up that 5th-year option. I think May 13th is the day they have to do that, if that's numbers right in my head. But do you want to give him the big contract right now? Probably not. Why? Because he can't stay healthy. Greedy Williams missed the entire year due to a shoulder injury. That was a nerve damage thing. You don't know what you're going to get out of him.
He was also dinged up in college.
He was. And we know Greedy loves to make those business decisions when it comes to tackling. So if Asante Samuel Jr. is there,
wait, just say he doesn't want to tackle.
Yeah, I mean, he thinks about that. Is he gonna, when he goes out there, is he gonna want to suddenly throw that injured shoulder at a 240-pound running back? Absolutely not. So that's where I think they look. And as far as starting, that's the dream, is to start all those guys, because those 3 safeties, they can come up and play that kind of hybrid linebacker. That's the dream, to do that, because we know those linebackers suck.
Grant Delpit. I'm excited to see that.
I am as well. And if Ronnie Harrison can stay healthy, the things Ronnie Harrison did when he was on the field were excellent. The Browns, what they want to do is set up a matchup nightmare for defenses guys who can cover tight ends, but not only when you have those three safeties, they can run and catch a Lamar Jackson. They can do more damage than if you get that big banging linebacker, because we're phasing out the bigger guys. That's why a guy like Zaven Collins, who I love Zaven Collins, if they take him, I'm all for it. 6'4", 260 linebacker out of Tulsa. He's 6'4", 260. He's your big guy, but he runs like a gazelle. You're phasing out the bigger backers. It's not the same league anymore unless you're playing that odd front. But we'll see. I mean, the Jelani Tavais of the world, stocks are going down, baby. But the Browns, they've got a shot. They've got to do it now. They've got to put the money in now, because as we always say, you got to do it before that contract comes. And if Baker plays like he did last year, you're going to pick up that option, which I believe is $22 million. He's going to have that 5th year, and then you got the big money starting to come in. So you've got to do something these next 2 seasons. The Browns are in an interesting spot, but you're right. They've got to stay healthy. They got to see if these guys can be good. The linebacker core as is, I mean, it's not scaring anyone. You're going to play 2-3 linebackers at times. You're going to have to go big, and you're going to need them to do something. The dream, though, is those 5 starting secondary players to be pretty good, because if you get what those guys can live up to in a Josh Johnson, Ronnie Harrison, Grant Delpit, Greedy Williams, and Denzel Ward, I mean, that's pretty scary, but you've got to make sure they're healthy. Otherwise, it's great on paper. And we know that paper means shit, because paper champions are nothing, and that's why you don't win the game in March. But the team they really have to worry about in this division is the team that finished second last year, 11-5, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, they've kept their front 7, re-signed Derek Wolfe, Tyus Bowser, and Pernell McPhee. They brought in Kevin Zeitler at guard. Sammy Watkins comes in. He'll probably be the number 2 receiver right now if Hollywood Brown stays. And that's another guy where if he can stay healthy, he can do damage, but he hasn't been on the field much. So you look at what the Ravens still have. They're going to be better next year on offense. They're going to make more sense because they're going to give J.K. Dobbins the ball more. And we saw when J.K. Dobbins got involved later in the season how dynamic that boy is. And we know that as Ohio State fans. But the Ravens, I think this is their division to lose. And I say that as a Browns fan. I hate saying it because I hate the freaking Ratbirds. But this team is loaded. They're a very good team, and the Browns need to live up to that. And that's why that 5-man secondary is something they need to look at, because of how fast this team is. Speed kills. You look at the Chiefs. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those teams, fast all around the field, and that's what you need to do. So Sammy Watkins, fast. Hollywood Brown, fast. Lamar Jackson, fast. Mark Andrews, big and fast. The way this defense plays, fast. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, sorry, Mary Kay Cabot interrupted me there with something, but it didn't even make sense. She called Zaven Collins Zane Collins, and we'll go from there. But for the Ravens, I mean, they basically locked up the guys they have and brought in 2 solid guys in Zeitler and Watkins. What do you think about what the Ravens have done this offseason?
I mean, the Sammy Watkins signing does nothing at all for me, to be 100% honest with you. I'm not Lamar Jackson wasn't very good throwing the football for a lot of the part. I mean, it's just that it makes me feel good because a year ago we were talking, I thought I was the dumbest asshole in the world. Sammy Watkins, yeah, he's fast. They got burners. Their roster is built. I'm not sure your team, if they add some pieces defensively and have some health, is not the team to beat this division.
It really comes down to, does that Browns defense stay healthy? We haven't even seen Myles. I mean, I hate to say Myles Garrett hasn't stayed healthy, but I mean, he hasn't. Last year was COVID, so I can't really knock him for that, but he hasn't played.
He's nicked up a couple games, it seems like a year. It's not, he doesn't miss extensive time unless he smashes some dude's head with a helmet. But there's always a couple games he's nicked up, and I get it, it's the NFL, but
the defense changes when he's not in. So you got these teams basically 1A, 1B for me. But when you really look deeply at it, the Ravens are probably the better team. I mean, but you're right. Lamar Jackson. What? I mean, are you ready to pay Lamar Jackson big money at this point in his career? You know he's going to be due for that big extension, just like I said with Baker.
Probably.
Who do you feel more comfortable paying the big extension to, Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson right now?
Baker. I think Baker. The reason I pay for Baltimore because what Harbaugh does, they've really done a nice job moving their skill sets to what Lamar Jackson does well. I think they got away from it a little bit last year. They were winning way more 2 tight end sets the year before. He's predicated off the play action, so I think they try to get back to that. But I mean, I would pay them both because again, it's hard to find a guy. I'm not 100% sold on Lamar Jackson's ability to throw the football, but he's proven that he can win with his ability to run the football. And listen, we're to the point where defenses have had plenty of time to figure it out. They have, right? He's still elusive on the ground. This is not like, okay, hey, they're going to figure this out. This guy's had 2 good weeks. This has been 2 years now that we've seen this. And so more than likely, both of them are going to get paid.
They are, but if you make that wrong decision and you pay that guy and he ends up not being good, like let's say Lamar ends up not getting better at throwing the football and then he gets a knee injury and he's not the same runner, is he going to be the same player? Probably not, but we'll see. I like what the Ravens have done. You've kept that front 7, which was nasty at times last year. J.K. Dobbins. So you look at the draft and it looks like they're going to be moving on from Zeus Brown. So picking 27th right after the Browns there, I got him picking Samuel Cosmi, offensive tackle out of Texas. They need to get nastier up front again. I feel like that's part of what they were missing last year is that they weren't as nasty up front. And maybe it was, losing Hayden Hurst. Maybe they weren't running as much as they did, like you just said. But for this Ravens team, you got to get strong up front again.
Yep, I agree.
Because you're going to run the football. And now let's move on to the team that won the division, basically barely won the division because they start out 11-0 and then falter down the stretch. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They came into the offseason. We're expecting them to lose Juju Smith-Schuster. They re-signed him because he was like, you know what? There's not really that much better options. 1 year, $8 million. Mike Pouncey retires. They restructured Ben. They lost Mike Hilton, lost Bud Dupree, released Steven Nelson, released Vince Williams. Tyson Alualu agrees to a deal with the Jaguars. And then he's like, yeah, it's still the Jags. I'm going back. He comes back to the Steelers. So they still have some pieces on the defense. And you still have, yeah, exactly. You got in the transfer portal right away.
Well, you're a grown-ass man. You made a decision. You go there. You're not like a college kid. Like, whatever.
We'll see. I mean, it's also, did he agree to that deal, or was this a reported deal that some source had heard? Like, I hadn't dug deep enough into it. This is a silly season. Like, I don't know the whole thing. But, I mean, they're losing. Mike Hilton was a big piece for them. Steven Nelson's a starting corner.
Remember last year they said Tua wasn't going to go in the top 15?
Yep.
And we were like, he's going to Miami. He's going to Miami. And everybody thought we were crazy. And then he went to Miami. Like, sorry to cut you off.
It is silly season. I mean, that's why we call it this. So you look at what the Steelers have lost on defense, a lot. But they tend to reload pretty easily. And you still got Ben Roethlisberger coming back. And Ben, we joke about Ben, not being very good at the end of the season. But you look at Ben's numbers. Ben's numbers overall were really good. Until they realized, hey, we got no running game. And we're going to make a 72-year-old quarterback whose face once bounced off the side of a truck off of a motorcycle. I mean, karma. But this happens, and the dude's arm is basically falling off. You make him throw 62 times or whatever in a playoff game. You got no running game.
He's done.
He is. He's on the downside. You cannot do that.
Sides, it's down.
You're just
not. The coin
we're
is
calling it.
It's on the ground. It's done.
His career's flatlined. It's done. 100%.
Yeah. Yes.
So they did bring in Dwayne Haskins. They still have Mason Rudolph.
Sweet.
You think? Yeah, exactly. I mean, wave it. Hey y'all, Yin's going. I'm not going to do the Yinzer accent because then I get stuck in it.
Steel City.
I mean, why is that's one of the worst cities to drive in?
All right, man. Just all right.
And I like going there because, listen, PNC Park right there on the river, gorgeous. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Pirates, though. Pirates are fine, whatever. Steelers, and you still got Ben Roethlisberger. He'll figure out a way to do some things. They were still the division winners last year. But they need to get a running game. What do you think about their offseason so far? Have they done anything to make you think
they
can win 8 games?
They didn't have money to do anything. And here's the deal: Pittsburgh didn't necessarily want to bring Ben back. Ben's like, "Hey, listen, I'll take less money. I want to come back." And they're like, "Bro, really?"
They're like, "But we don't. I mean, we got nothing else."
Rudolph and shit. Like, no. To me, he's done. I mean, Pittsburgh's still going to win football games because I think their coach is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're a 8-win team in my opinion as we stand right now.
Are they the worst team in the division?
9-win team. Are they the worst? No, they're not. They're the third worst team in the division.
Okay.
The Bengals are still the worst team in the division.
In my last mock here on fcfspod.substack.com, I had him taking Creed Humphrey, the center out of Oklahoma. I didn't like that pick when I made it, but I might have just picked it because it was the Steelers.
You're like, place kicker.
But the original guy I was slotting for them is this guy right here, Najee Harris, who I'd go to the Jets at 23. I think
Najee Harris can be available at this part of the draft too. I actually think he's a player that you could see slip a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see many of these teams overdrafting a running back. You have Travis Etienne at 16 to the Cardinals. Interesting. I'm not saying he won't be the first running back off the board. I just think that might be a little early, but who knows?
That one was what does this team need?
Mm-hmm.
They need offensive linemen, but they need weapons. And how scary would a read option
doing it for you?
A read option between Etienne and Kyler Murray, that would be scary. But going to the Steelers, listen, this roster, they're old. They still got TJ Watt. I will keep saying that because that guy's just that damn good. They've still got Cam Hayward. They've got a okay structure for defense. If you can get anything out of Ben Roethlisberger, fine. You still got some decent wideouts. I mean, Chase Claypool is still pretty decent. Juju, we don't know what he really is yet. But what they need to do, listen, that defense last year, phenomenal. Offense, passing-wise, pretty damn good. They need to run the football, get back to what the Pittsburgh Steelers do best. They need to figure out what they're doing at running back. Because right now, James Conner isn't coming back.
Benny Snell is not the answer.
No.
Benny Snell looks like he's running in concrete.
Yeah, I mean, he
did win me a fantasy championship, though. So God bless Benny Snell and his family. But yeah, bro, you're not getting it done.
They got Anthony McFarland. I mean, none of these guys, though, you're not really looking like. But if they bring in a Najee Harris, like, does that move the needle for you?
The Steelers like to do.
I'm with you.
Because the Steelers aren't going to. They're not necessarily a speed outside back.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers are a kind of between the tackles back that can really get 2, 3, 4 yards when you need it. I think he's a perfect fit there. And I honestly believe that he could certainly be there for them. I'm not past the option of running back kind of slipping down this draft board.
I mean, we know that running backs don't go high anymore, but I felt Etienne, the way I think that kid can do anything. So that's why I had him going in the first round here. I think Najee Harris could even slide out of the first round possibly, but I think if he's sitting there, for Pittsburgh, that's just such a great fit. You hit it. The Pittsburgh Steelers, we think of them, it's punch you in the mouth on both sides of the football, and that's what they have to do. But for me, if you're looking at this offseason for the entire AFC North, the Bengals are doing Bengals things. Steelers are like, hey, we got to figure something out. We got no money. Browns are like, we're going to fix all our issues in free agency and then go into the draft and really not have to focus on anything. We're picking 26.
The Browns are like rookie quarterback contract is what the Browns are like. And we talk about this to nauseam on the show. Throw the chips in, all of them. Throw them in now. Because when you have to pay the quarterback, you have to all of a sudden step back when it comes to these other positions because the cap and where you are. You have to. I'm telling you, rookie QB deals is where it's at. If you're a team like the Chargers, if you're a team, you know what I mean. You're throwing everything, and I just think the Bengals are too far away. But I think the Chargers are a team that roster is built to win.
That defense is scary.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But another thing I did want to bring up when we were talking Browns, and anyone who's asked me questions about the Browns lately, I've said to them in the draft, don't be surprised if the Browns move around a lot. They've got 9 picks right now. This is not a Browns roster that is going to take in 9 draft picks. You're basically looking at this team as, this is a team with 9 draft picks. You don't want all those rookies. And they've got that contract coming up eventually where you got to win now. but you don't need all the rookies. So this is where you say, hey, you're going to give us future picks and higher rounds. Let's say they get there. They got 2 third-round picks, 89 and 91. If they're sitting there at 89 and someone's like, hey, we'll give you a 2022 2, they're going to make those moves. The Browns are probably only going to take 4 to 5 players in this draft. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. They're going to start moving into getting picks for future years because those rookie contracts are cheaper, and that's eventually what they got to do.
One last thing before we get out of here or whatever. You're going to listen to OBJ offers?
No.
You're not?
Not at all. Listen, Odell Beckham Jr. is still one of the top 5 wide receivers in this league.
I disagree with that.
It hasn't worked out in Cleveland yet.
Top
Why?
5.
Top 5. Overall, yeah, absolutely, in my opinion. I mean, skill-wise, when he's at his best.
But bro?
We haven't seen that in a few years.
Ago.
It was.
Yeah.
And my hope in saying that is that Baker Mayfield now has had a year in an offense for the first time. He's in an offseason where he's going to come in back next year, and the playbook's going to be the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
So his comfortability in an offense for the first time is going to allow him to not have to feel like he has to force feed OBJ, which has been their biggest issue. When he's throwing the ball to him, he's forcing it. So OBJ is not working out.
But does OBJ demand football? Because that's kind of what OBJ does.
We'll find out next year.
Yep.
But I'm not taking trade offers because what are you going to get for a guy coming off a torn ACL?
A mystery box, damn it. What the hell you mean, dude? Get a mystery box.
Hey,
you could get an OBJ.
We could get an OBJ. Or we could get it could be anything. And if Andrew Berry says, hey, we get a 2nd-round pick for him, and you feel like you want to move on from him, I mean, fine. But there's a reason that the reports are always out that Tom Brady wants OBJ or this or that, because he is unbelievably talented.
Awesome.
But we haven't seen that in a few years. We'll find out this year. I mean, it's fun to watch the guy, like you watch him on Instagram running on the treadmill, and his legs are just moving so fast it looks like Scooby-Doo. The dude's a stud when it comes down the field, but we haven't seen it. We saw the one game last year with the Cowboys. That game was unbelievable. And then it was downhill and injured and gone. But we'll see what they get out of him. I mean, who's the best receiver in the AFC North right now?
Odell Beckham.
Yeah. It's crazy to think.
I can't say T. Higgins.
T. Higgins can be.
Well, no, I agree. I can't say a receiver from a team that's quarterback can't throw the ball. Don't send anybody to the Packers. If it's OBJ,
are you talking send OBJ to the Packers?
No, please don't do that.
No, not going to happen.
Don't do that.
Speaking of the Packers, let's see who I have them taking in my mock here real quick. I forgot about that.
Long snapper.
I actually have them taken.
Quarterback.
My boy. How great would it be if they took another quarterback? Zayvon Collins.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
That's a fun team that it's like, what are they doing exactly?
Yeah,
we'll see. But no, OBJ stays in Cleveland. You need speed, Clevelanders. I understand you don't like him. You might be a diva. You might not be the guy you like. But right now, I know we all love Jarvis Landry. I love Jarvis Landry. But more important receiver for the team going forward.
Jarvis Landry, he's a possession wide receiver.
And you got that in Rashard Higgins. You need to open up the field because you got Austin Hooper who doesn't do anything. Why? Because none of your receivers are scaring anybody. Jarvis Landry in the playoff game had 9 catches for like 11 yards.
Could you imagine the one game Jason Jackson played for you guys before he got injured? Electric.
But yeah, anyways, you got another show to do. We're going to get out of here quickly because you got to go do a show. And
hey, man, we're doubling up, double dipping.
It's way past your bedtime almost for this show.
It is, I know.
But hey, go catch Drew. Follow him on Twitter at DetroitDave7. Follow me on Twitter at SomervilleCLE. Follow the show at FCFS Pod. Going to get better about posting there. Facebook, fb.me/FCFS Pod. Check out the new shirts. Check out Substack, where you can find our articles. Something new every Monday, trying to do that. Don't always post it or share it on Twitter on Monday, but it's always posted on Monday. So if you get it, sign up in the email, blah, 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 all that stuff. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. Next week, it's close to the draft. We're building up, and hey, make sure you're ready because you're going to get us 4.5 hours or so for the draft, and that is going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully Bud Light. Hey, Bud Light, if you're watching. I know I've been in your inbox a whole bunch lately. There's Drew. Look at that. Showing the can. He doesn't drink from a cup. He wants to show off the good stuff there. Bud Light, send him that package. We'll promote the hell out of you during our full coverage football show live 4.5 hour draft show, April 29th. But until then, and as always, remember, if you live the life you love, you'll have the life you live. Night, kids.